Well, broadcasting from the Hubcast studios, welcome to a special edition of The Nation. I am Rob Fai, and every show brought to you by our friends at Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan. What a thrill to have you along for the ride on the heels of a pretty sizable loss for the Vancouver Canucks right now as they fall 6-3 to the Ottawa Senators, a game that just looked greasy from the start. And we will sit back and talk about all things Canucks over the next hour, but I want to hear from you tonight. Our Toyo Tires fan line is already open. It is already expecting your calls. So over the next hour, feel free to join us and give us your thoughts on the good ship Vancouver. What happened tonight? There can be a case made for the COVID, but I don't think tonight was just COVID related. Sure, I know they're a little bit slow. I know it takes a while for the body to truly get back there. Now, listen, full disclosure, I have not been diagnosed with COVID, so I don't really know what this is doing to the bodies on certain players within this Canucks organization. But I can tell you that the structure wasn't there tonight, that the game plan didn't look like it was completely executed properly. And I want to get into that because, again, I have said since they came back with their return to play that I wasn't going to judge. But tonight I might have to judge because there were certain things tonight that I look back and I say to myself, man, they got to be better. They just, if you're going to compete and lose, fine, but at least compete. And I'm not saying that this is a heart thing, but I am saying that they just look like a lesser team. But I will say this. Don't let those two victories over the Toronto Maple Leafs skew where they are right now in the big scheme of things. They don't have their best player in Elias Pettersson. This is a team that is not built for long-term success. And if Thatcher doesn't get a little more run support, it's not going to matter anyway. Today, 6th spot put on the Canucks, and it doesn't look good because now they're walking into the mouth of the lion for Toronto, who's going to be looking for a little bit of redemption. So again, there's the number. You dial us up, you hit that little code. We've already tweeted that code and the phone number to all of our social media platforms, whether you're watching tonight on Twitch, Facebook Live, Vimeo, YouTube, wherever you're watching the show tonight. We would love to hear from you, and we've got a wide open berth for you to park the car in and talk Canucks with us or NHL tonight across the board. One guest for your viewing pleasure. We're about 10 minutes away from Dave Tomlinson, former NHLer, and almighty Duck Talk tonight between us and Dave. And maybe a little Canuck talk sprinkled in. Let's get to the trivia question brought to you by our very good friends at Logo Pro Sports. You know, I was getting ready to call Kurt. I got a couple of things I want ready for summer. I want a couple of t-shirts. I want some swag. And I know that whether it is a big order or a small order, the integrity of the guys over at Logo Pro Sports, it's not going to differ. They're going to give you a good quality product. They're going to give you a great price. And you would be supporting local as well. To the trivia question we go, my friends. I'd give this about 3 peppers out of 5. Who are the 4 alternate captains for the Vancouver Canucks in 2011? 4 of them. Can you name all 4 of them? The captain was Henrik. Who are his alternates? Whether you're on YouTube, Facebook Live, Vimeo, Twitch, wherever you are, you can even tweet it at me, at Rob Fai. Go into the chat room. Let me know which 4 guys were, in fact, the alternates to Henrik, and one of you is walking out of here with a prize. We had a winner from the 5 chili trivia last show, so if we can get that one and give away a prize to somebody there, surely somebody's going to be able to cook one up for us here today and walk out of here with some Nation swag. All right, let's get to it. Vancouver Canucks, we'll take the high road here. We're not going to show you everything that happened from back at the Canadian Tire Center, but I do want to show you a couple of the good moments for time to really assess what happened down there. Travis Green was a little feisty. But I think he's feisty because, you know what, there are certain nights where you can blame heavy legs and maybe the lungs aren't fully there. Coming off of the COVID-19 protocol, again, they get a mulligan for the rest of the season on certain things. But there were certain things tonight, battles along the boards, big rebounds, nobody there to clean them up, where you sit back and you're like, boys, you got to be better. That's just basic hockey. Like what they do as far as being able to win every race, I understand. But the problem here is you can't sweep everything under the COVID blanket. Maybe I should get rid of this. I'm using it too much. Got the old Italian hands going right now. Here's the challenge that I face, and I would love to hear from you if you share the same problem. You sit there and you're like, it must have been COVID. You know, these guys aren't playing the same. They've got to fight harder. This is the NHL. There's no easy outs anymore. You look at Ottawa, and you saw those on the schedule after those 2 games against Toronto, and you're like, here we go. We're going to get back into the playoff conversation. That's not necessarily what this is going to be about, because Ottawa understands what the recipe is against a team that's lethargic, that has heavy legs. You just got to beat them. You got to skate harder. You got to win those battles on the boards. And Ottawa, after making adjustments after the couple of tough losses they took on early, made those adjustments and have back-to-back wins over Vancouver. But the thing that I have trouble with is body language. And it's not as if the Canucks looked tired. They weren't doubled over. They weren't trying to catch their breath. They just look as if every ounce of energy that they had to get past those 2 games against Toronto, that was all they had left. And now you realize with, around a dozen games to go, dozen points back, this is over. So where do you find your momentum? Where do you find your why? Why do you come to the arena? What are you looking for? Travis Green is probably going to have to make some tough decisions here because A, he's technically still playing for a job, but we all know that the drum is banging louder and louder by the day here in Vancouver to play the kids. We want to see Jack Rathbone. We want to see Cole Lind. Hell, we would have taken Michael DiPietro if he was available to us. We know what the Vancouver Canucks of 2021 are, but we want to see what some of the future is. These games, the final 12, the only thing that I think will keep our attention in this city as opposed to just going golfing is seeing what the future holds. Am I wrong? Again, I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news here, but even looking in the box tonight, the inbox, Ottawa's faster. Curtis, Cowboy Kurt says, let's blow this up. People are calling for Benning's job. We know that. Suleiman Damji saying it's officially over. There's no playoffs for Vancouver. So what would you like to see in the final dozen games for the Vancouver Canucks? Is it time to see the kids? I think we collectively say yes. But the one thing that I don't want to see is excuses. There is no reason at this point not to have your kids play. You look at some of your veterans, you're like, hey man, it's okay. We're going to take the foot off the gas here. Maybe you're going to be a healthy scratch a couple of nights. Rest up. You bring these young kids in, you give them a taste of the good life so that they know when they go into the offseason what they're going to need to do to work to get back and be a regular NHL player. You would be amazed what that would mean to a young player to at least understand what it's like to play at Scotiabank Arena and see the speed of an NHL game and understand that even though they might not be productive, there might not be a lot of goals and assists that are going to just absolutely stack up in their column, they'll at least get to see the ebb and flow. They deserve it. It's been a crazy year for everybody. Let's give them an opportunity. And I think there's a couple of veterans there, although they're not going to sit around and put their hand up and say, yeah, you can take my spot. I think they'd be understanding. These are men. They understand that every once in a while, you got to do what's best for the organization in the long haul. Travis Green's going to have to make that decision. Jim Benning's going to have to make that decision. The powers that be are going to have to address the fact that this is now over. And instead of you just collecting dust on your prospects, get them in. Let them play. And if this Vancouver Canuck team gets beaten like a drum for the next 6-7 games, but you're playing your young kids, cool. I think everybody in the city would appreciate that. But there will be nothing worse than having these cool prospects just down the street or up in the press box or right nearby, and you don't because you want to get a few more games out of Brandon Sutter, or you want to get a few more games out of insert player here. Like, yeah, I get it. Sutter scored tonight. Sure, Jake Virtanen scored tonight. I understand. Who cares? Get the kids in, let them play. Let's get some, notches and try to get things right. That's my 2 cents on it, but I'd love to hear from you tonight. We'll get to the Toyo Tires fan line a little bit later. We'll take our break here, but when we come back, actually just before we get to the break, I just want to say, as of Friday, we're going to be able to unveil who the angel investor is behind our Canadians Community Champion program. I think that was a Freudian slip. Our Community Champions program has seen us receive a ton of feedback. At robfay.ca, you've let us know who in our community are making a difference. We've already been able to go out and visit some of these people, and it was inspiring to say the least. We're going to make some more visits tomorrow. Then we're going to package these all up, and for about, 5-6 broadcasts, we're going to let you know who is making a difference in our community. And I just want to say to each and every one of you, thank you for your submission. As well, we want to focus on our community. Our very good friends at Kids Sport Richmond, as of this weekend, are going to become a part of this broadcast, and we're going to show you some of the coaches in our region. We're going to show you some of the athletes that are supporting amateur sports in our region that are making a difference. Steve Valenzuela, all of the people, Rob Jackson out there with Kids Sport Richmond, Bobby Singh, Annie, you guys have been so great to me over the years. We wanted to return the favor and let people in our community know what is going on with Kids Sport and Kids Sport Richmond. So thank you for joining the nation. I cannot wait to shine light on it. And you, the viewer, are going to have an opportunity to hear from Olympians. You're going to hear from all players at all different walks of sport as to what is going on in your community. Yeah, it's a Vancouver Canuck postgame show, but there's no reason that we can't spread the wealth and let everybody know what is going on in our communities. There's some great stories. I don't want to get it lost in all the Vancouver Canuck shuffle. So between Kidsport Richmond, our new investor that's about to reveal who they are on the other side of this weekend, we got a lot of great news coming your way. So in addition to the Canucks wrapping up their season, stick around, watch the Nation each and every show, as I promise you, you're going to feel motivated by what you see. We'll take our break here. When we come back, this will get you motivated. Dave Tomlinson, former NHLer, movie aficionado, he'll stop by the Nation next. I'm Rob Fay, and this show, like all of the others, is brought to you by Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan. We'll be back in a moment.
You're great at what you do, and that's why so many people depend on you. But that doesn't always mean you can handle all of the unexpected problems that come with running a business. With Chamber's plan, you don't have to figure everything out yourself. The plan now comes with extra benefits for owners, like professional consulting on key financial, legal, and HR issues. Better benefits, stable rates, and an expert to guide you through the toughest legal jargon. This is what Canada's #1 employee benefits plan looks like.
A higher degree of safety.
Since 1945, Toyo Tires has been making quality products. It doesn't matter where you go or what you do. There's a Toyo adventure for those who dare to dream.
Looks like those tires are well tested.
Hey Matt, let's play!
For your drive, dare to dream. Toyo Tires.
Well, back in the Hubcast studios, I am Rob Fay. We got a lot to get to. Segment 2, we're going to be here for the whole hour. So sit back, grab yourself a beer, a nice glass of wine, whatever your, what do you call it? Laborious? I don't even know, man. Just get yourself a drink, sit back and enjoy, enjoy the rest of the show. Trust me, I haven't been drinking myself. Okay, before we get to Dave Tomlinson, before we get to the out-of-town scoreboard, the upcoming games, let's go into the Toyo Tires fan line. And he is almost becoming a regular on this show. Shirtless Hans, kind enough to make time for us, wearing his Vancouver Canadians gear. Shirtless one, how are you tonight, and what'd you make of tonight's game?
What I make of tonight's game, I don't think we can say it on the air. It'll have to be bleeped. I think the season's over. They cannot use the excuse of COVID anymore. I think there was a lackluster on the ice. There was no offense. There was no defense. I don't think they showed up. It's going to be a very long road trip. And the way they played tonight, and they're going to play Toronto tomorrow, even though we beat Toronto twice here, I don't think it's going to happen there. And it's time to bring out the, I don't know. Yeah. There's just no words today. There's no words about it today. It was just terrible. No matter which way you look at it, they literally stunk. It was a sleeper. And it was a good thing it was in the afternoon and not many people could watch it because it was, I haven't seen them play. Well, I've seen them play shitty, pardon my language, but today was terrible. And really, you can't blame Demko for it because he had no defense in front of him. Some of those shots were very weak, but they gave the puck away more times than they had it. And you can't win games like that. It sure was.
It is what it is, Hans. I
It is
appreciate
what
you
it
stopping
is.
by. I'm sorry, I got a lot to get to, but Hans, I
That's
love the
good.
background. You keep those coming. And I appreciate your shirt. They start, by the way, next week. Vancouver Canadians
May
back
the
in action.
4th.
Hans,
May the 4th.
thank you. That is right. May the 4th be with you as well, Hans. That's how you know I'm a nerd. Okay, very quickly, brought to you by the Gaming Stadium. Let us get you caught up with what is coming up. There's still a lot coming your way here when it comes to everything that's going on. The Gaming Stadium has a pretty big announcement coming up in a couple of days. I just got wind of it, and I promise you before the season's over, I'm going to let you know what's going on. The Gaming Stadium is a fantastic venue located in Richmond, and they do much more than just play video games out there. Go to thegamingstadium.com and learn how you can get your e-gaming fix on. Okay, let's check it out. Let's see what's going on behind the scenes as well. Upcoming games for Vancouver. That looks like a tough couple of stretch, don't you think? Now, you know what's interesting here is we saw Toronto about, just over a week ago, and we said, oh my gosh, doom and gloom. And then Vancouver went out and won 2 games, 3-2 in overtime, and then that 4-2 victory. Then we looked at Ottawa on the schedule for 4 straight nights and said, oh man, that's going to be where we make up some ground. And we didn't do hardly anything there. So we'll see what happens here. But as it stands right now, tomorrow, they're back on the ice. No rest for the wicked. Vancouver's going to be right back on the ice, taking on Toronto for a couple of games. We'll talk to Dave Tomlinson about that in just 2 seconds. But very quickly, let us get you to the out-of-town scoreboard. See what's going on around the rest of the North Division tonight. It is brought to you by Move Health and Wellness. TJ and Gary continuing to do great things right in the heart of Surrey. If you're looking to make a change, you've been cooped up for more than a year and it's time, you're mentally drained, you're physically drained, you're looking in the mirror and you're like, man, I just need a hand. This is where you go. It is more than just a gym. It is more than just sitting back and talking to somebody. It is your full package all in one location. Please do yourself a favor and go to movehealthandwellness.com. All right. See what's going on with the old out-of-town scoreboard. Maple Leafs red hot, man. Since those 2 losses against Vancouver, they have been as hot as a pistol. They take the Habs, and you know this felt good for Toronto. 4-1 victory for the Leafs, and they are buzzing. Now they're getting ready to host the Vancouver Canucks. And I'll tell you what, if you're a betting man, you might want to put some money on the Leafs over the next couple of games. But again, never know with the Vancouver Canucks. And that is the NHL scoreboard. Do we have any more? I'm not sure if we have any more. There we go. We have one that's in progress right now. The Oilers, who Vancouver will play in about 4 days' time. 2-1 lead over the Jets. I thought we had one more game, which is why I was taking a peek at it. Jets right now kind of spinning their tire in the mud. It has been tough. We'll talk to Dave Tomlinson about this team as well. He's got experience with the Winnipeg Jets. If you think of where they were going into training camp and where they are now, no more Patrick Laine. Nick Ehlers is done for the season. Boy, it's been a tough year, and yet they're still hanging around. All right, let's bring in Dave Tomlinson, brought to you by our friends at dogpartners.ca. Valerie and her staff with more than 20 years experience. There is no one that can make the adjustments that your pet may need more than dogpartners.ca, and summer months are perfect to get out there and help your dog get the training that he or she needs. Dave Tomlinson, kind enough to join me on a bit of an odd night. I heard you a little bit earlier today on, was it today? I think it was a little bit earlier, talking about the logo with Sakaris and Price. I thought you were going to go in on him. Welcome to, I hope you like our logo.
Your logo is the standard by which other logos should be measured. That was the first time I was on with it, so I I had to be polite, and then I just decided I couldn't be, so I'd stop. To me, it looks like a college baseball team logo, like, you know, the San Diego Padres or the S&P or St. Petersburg. I don't know. They'll work on it, and maybe they'll ask me next time because they didn't this time. But their logo was certainly nicer looking than the Canucks game this evening, that's for sure.
Yeah, by the way, S&P, second place. But just don't tell them I said that. Let's get... I'm sorry, I had to. All right, let's talk about this Vancouver Canuck game, because people are going to wake up tomorrow morning, or maybe later tonight when they finally get home and unpack this game and say, okay, 6-3, maybe it was shoddy goaltending tonight. But I think if you watch the game, it would paint a much different picture than the score alludes to. I mean, don't get me wrong, 6 goals is 6 goals any way you slice it. But what were your takeaways from the game tonight, Dave?
Well, I think that, when you get scored against on your first shot, and it's your number one goaltender, that sends a bit of a reverberation through your team, but it usually wakes them up. And in this case, it really didn't do that for the Vancouver Canucks. I thought Demko, obviously, the shot that got by him and the way that the play broke down, it was a little bit too easy. I thought they hung around in the first period, and anytime they travel east and have to play that first game, it's still an adjustment for them. So the first period doesn't sink them, and then a couple of minutes into the second period, that does. And it's their veteran guys. You look at the second goal, and Alex Edler is again, and he's never going to change, but he's looking to try to block the shot instead of moving the player out of the way so the goalie can block the shot, and he's the guy with all the gear. Let him see it, let him stop it. And when Edler's focusing in on trying to block the shot or be in the shooting lane, when it fumbles around in his feet, he's then not ready to defend and loses his balance. The puck gets put in the net. Okay, that's a bad goal. It's a mistake by your veteran guy in front of your goaltender. Early in the second period, he's still got a lot of hockey to play. But the JT Miller giveaway and the subsequent laziness on his defensive play afterwards puts Quinn Hughes in a tough spot. It's an easy 2-on-1 right in front of the net. It's 3-0. And Travis Green, rightly so, calls a timeout and lays into his team. Now, here's the difference for the Canucks, not only this season with their top players, but coming off this COVID rest, and that's the wrong word, situation that they had to deal with. And you look around the league, and so last week, Paul Maurice, he benches Mark Scheifele, one of his best players, because of taking a longer shift 4-on-4 and then not really back checking, and they get scored on, and he sits for the entire rest of that period. Okay? You look at John Tortorella, when Patrick Laine, I heard you mention his name earlier, he gets to Columbus, he's a couple of games in, Laine gets benched for a while. He's their best scorer, their best finisher, new guy to the team. Travis Green doesn't have that luxury. He can't bench JT Miller. I mean, I think in his brain he wants to, because that's a bad play. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. A backhand up the middle. I coach 13-year-olds, and I've coached my son since he was a little guy. We talk about that, backhands up the middle. And it's costly, and it costs them. And that was the backbreaker for the team. They're trying to cobble together whatever energy they can, especially on the road. They're losing their matchups, their abilities. They can't shelter Olli Juolevi as much as they would like, so he doesn't get a lot of ice time and a lot of playing time. So you've already got a shortened bench. And then you've got to come back into a hockey game when you're down 3-0 against a team that has a lot of youthful energy. And you have a bottom part of your lineup that's not bringing offense to the table. So you can't bench Miller. You can't bench Edler because you've already shortened your bench on the defensive side with your defenseman by not playing Juolevi. And so it's almost like Travis Green's hands are tied. So all he can do is hope that his players and his top players are going to pull him out of it. But you can only rearrange things so much with the guys that you are giving heavy minutes to. And this is on the first night of back-to-backs. I didn't agree with the ice time not given to Juolevi, and he must have seen something earlier that led to the benching at the end of the halfway through the first and parts of the second period. But he put so much more emphasis on your other defensemen, and now they've got to play an even better team tomorrow night.
Okay, so maybe we can mask this, because you can't bench Edler, you can't bench JT Miller, but you can play your kids. And you can healthy scratch some people and give these opportunities. So maybe you don't physically walk up to JT and sit him for the third period, but is there going to be a point now with, a dozen games, 13 games to go, where you say, you know what, it is what it is. We've got to get these guys in, but maybe JT, you're the guy that sits out for a game or two. And during that time in the press box, gets time to reflect. I have had a tough time being a fan or a critic of JT Miller, because I find him to be really moody. And I think that's been his MO, even with the cities that he played in before he got to Vancouver. But could you mask taking some of these guys back and just simply playing the kids in lieu of physically benching a player?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one to go that far, because he seems to be the spiritual leader of that group. And he was outspoken before the Canucks got back to play, and to the point that they got an extra day or two of rest. He's a bit of their engine at times, although I always like to give that mantle to Bo Horvat, because you can never really question his effort. It's always going to be there, whether results follow or not. That's, some nights they do, some nights they don't for Bo. But for JT Miller, earlier on in the season, it was a big topic, just it's not indifference. It was almost as if there was an expectation that the team was going to be better, and because it wasn't, he was frustrated. But he's part of them playing better, and so he openly wore that frustration, and I don't think that was the proper way to do it. And as we get to see JT Miller more and more, we realize he plays with energy, he gets into the battle, but he certainly has a roller coaster of emotions at times, and when his mood switches to sulky, I mean, it's apparent. You can see it on him. And I think Travis Green has learned that as well. And so if he sees that Miller is maybe sulking a little bit, he's going to lash out on the group, because he can't really lash out on the guy that also has the ability to uplift the team in one shift. And so just taking him out of the lineup completely, I think that would cause more of a storm than it would help. For the Canucks, they have a bottom six that is, quite frankly, interchangeable. And so that's where you're going to see the guys rotating in. Travis Green, and if you had a chance to listen in some of the audio of talking about what's Cole Lind, is he going to be a part of things? Jack Rathbone, Canuck fans, if I can speak for them, they want to see the new shiny toy because it's better than what they think they're seeing right now. But as Travis Green answered, they watch those players every single day when they're skating the taxi squad and putting them through their paces. And then to think that one of those guys is going to magically transform this team, they're not. I mean, at the best, you've got a Höglander who's going to give you everything he has, and there might be nights where he can't make those plays, where more nights he has, and that's why he's been a fixture in the top six. But Cole Lind's not being talked about as a top six guy. So you're wanting the best out of him for 9 minutes. I think what happens is when the Canucks are mathematically eliminated, which is happening pretty soon, that's when you're going to start to filter in those guys, get some looks, see if there's some chemistry. But I don't think in lieu of sitting your best players, I don't think that would make a whole lot of sense.
Dave, again, I know we can't put this to rest just yet because there are still 13 more games, or, about 20% of the season. But what do you think this season is going to be remembered for beyond the stoppage because of COVID? I mean, I was trying to put my thumb on what this season was. And there were flashes of brilliance. We got to see Thatcher Demko for a 2-week stretch at the beginning of March play out of his mind. So we know that he's got the capability to be number one. We didn't get to see a lot of Elias Pettersson. That injury with his wrist just has extended probably right through the end of the season. If you're a fan of the Canucks right now, what are you assessing when it comes to this season? Is this just completely a lost season altogether? Outside of Nils Höglander, there's not a lot of positives really to draw from. Or maybe that's just my 2 cents.
I think that everyone will point to the COVID pause and say that that's what derailed the season. And there's some merit to that, because if they had continued to play and it looked like they were starting to play really well, Demko got back to his form, you think that Holtby would have continued to play the way that he's played in the last couple of games. So you've got the tandem that you want. I think a lot of people are going to look at this team and say, boy, it was close. Maybe they could have made a run for the playoffs. But if Jim Benning's thinking that way, then he's not going to look to make a lot of changes. He's going to think that, they've got something. It was just interrupted by a really huge speed bump. But if you go back to the start of the season, I don't think this team was prepared enough to play a grinding style, which is what they say they do. I mean, they're not a skillful team. They have some skilled players, but you wouldn't look at the Vancouver Canucks and look at their roster and say, boy, they've got more skill than the opposition. So then they have to know what their game is. And they, in the mid part before the COVID hit, I think they finally figured it out. Their defensemen weren't as risky. Their forwards were back checking a little bit harder. I think the Canucks forecheck this season, if I get technical for the moment, has probably been the best thing about the team. It doesn't get talked about because it's a boring subject, and how do you break it down? But they have done I thought, and they continue to do a very good job of forechecking teams. Where they have issues is accepting the rush, back-checking, and some communication, which some younger players get lost in learning the game, learning the angles, learning the tendencies of the opposition. So for me, this season is going to be, what did they learn? Have they found what they are as an identity? Because I think early in the season, they thought that they were better than they were. And then once they got down to saying to themselves, we can't win hockey unless we're outworking the opposition to a man. They did that for a stretch of about 5 or 7 games, and then COVID hit. They're not going to be able to take that type of energy into all these games. It's simply not going to be there. They're playing with 80% of a tank versus what you'd like to think is 100%. So I would look back at what this season is going to be and say, okay, you've got your starting Demko, which you mentioned. Pettersson, you hope he comes back even stronger and better. You have a long talk with JT Miller in the offseason and say, you've got to handle your emotions better because it reverberates amongst the team. But the thing is, this team has to convince itself that they're not going to be good enough unless they outwork the opposition, and they haven't simply done that most nights, and tonight was one of them.
So, Dave, and I love your insight. The forechecking thing is such great analysis. I want to talk a little bit about the money that's coming off the books and the confidence that this market has in Jim Benning to be the guy to kind of retool before we have to collectively take a step back. I'm not asking you whether or not he's going to get fired, but the trust in this market in Jim Benning seems paper thin right now. But you look for the first time in a couple of years, there's some significant money that's becoming available even after Hughes and even after Pettersson. There's still some wiggle room here. Would you, if you're Francesco, just say, screw it, I'm going to roll the dice because he's in place, he's not that expensive, and away we go? Or do you feel that, you know what, even if you're not going to let Jim Benning go, you need to bring somebody in who can at least help him make those decisions?
Well, I think the latter is the smarter way to go, and that's the typical hierarchy of hockey organization. Things have changed a lot. Normally, you would have an owner, he owns the team, and you know everything about the management structure. It seems, if you look at the last 10 years or so, especially some of the newer owners, the Pagulas, in Carolina, these owners come in and they want to be a part of things. So that just, kind of upsets a bit of the structure, because you have lifelong hockey men who have ideas of how things should be run, and then you've got owners who are putting their money into play and want to have a say. And so you're going to need a real strong president of hockey operations to buffer the two. The Canucks could use that for sure. An experienced hockey man above Jim Benning that can deal and talk with Francesco Aquilini. But that's a new contract. That's, 6 figures, obviously, for that management position. And the Canucks aren't spending money. They're trying to save. So I don't see that happening. I see that Francesco Aquilini believes, if he can, still got Jim Benning under contract, if he can make some savvy moves at the end of the season and in free agency just to fill a couple of holes. But Jim Benning's had a long run at this, and negotiating contracts is not his strong suit. I mean, if you could bring in Mike Gillis just to negotiate the contracts and then have him leave afterwards, then you probably have a pretty good semblance of a salary cap. But it doesn't work that way. And the Canucks in this offseason really have to figure out, where are they on the arc? Do they have to put more money into management so that they make the right decisions because they are a cap team and always have been? And, I mean, we talk about all this and we still haven't got to Travis Green, the coach. So if you're going to bring in somebody else, they're going to have to assess whether Travis Green is the guy. There's more money that's coming out in a new contract. You're going to have to pay that anyways if you bring in somebody else other than Travis Green. I mean, Bob Hartley just won a KHL championship, and he's one of these, kind of hard-ass coaches. You hope that Aquilini doesn't look at that and think, Tortorella couldn't do it, but maybe Hartley can, or maybe Gerard Gallant, who just got the Hockey Canada job. I mean, these are guys that want to get to the NHL. I think Travis Green's the right guy. I think that they've mistreated him by not signing him yet. I think the best thing that can happen is that he does get re-signed, but I don't think they're going to do that until the end of the season when everything is reassessed and everything's on the table. But if they're going to let Green go, then all of a sudden you've just got a real murky moat to work with, and the Canucks are trying to get more solid, not more fragile.
I want to ask you a question that you're the only guy probably that I've had on this show all season that can answer. Do the alumni talk? And it doesn't have to be the Canuck alumni, but guys that have played in the NHL or played for specific teams, do they ever get together and be like, because we hear Canuck Twitter and we hear all of us analysis guys, we're all like, this is what's happening. Do the boys that used to wear the flying skate ever get together and be like, come on, man, what's going on? Or, stay the course. Like, do they have opinions? Yes or no? I'm just curious to know if they do. They do, don't they?
Yeah. Yes. And nice of you to bring this up, because this right here is the Canuck alumni golf shirt. You don't just get one. You have to earn it. I've been invited to be a Canuck alumni. I've played a lot with the alumni, our Wednesday night at 8 rinks, and that isn't happening, obviously. But when it did a year back, the subject would come up. And the veteran guys, for the most part, would say, that would never happen when we played, or why didn't he do this? Or, they all have opinions. But when it comes down to it, they're still savvy hockey guys, and they say the same things that we are at times. But there's a little bit more insight to it. Like, can you see that anytime he gets to the center line, he's not able to get the puck in at the proper moment, and it slows down. He's always putting guys offside. Like, they do see the little things. The casual fan sees the big things. The alumni, I mean, they're Canuck alumni, most of them, like myself. Some were adopted. But they want this Canuck team to do well. And they know parts of management. They played with some of those guys. They played with, some of the scouts and things like that. So, when they're upset or, cursing about how the team's playing, it's because they want the best for this team. They know the fans want the best too. It's been a drought. And they can see some of these missteps as well. So I tell you, the locker room talk is priceless. It's been a while since we've even been able to have that. But, I mean, the alumni, what's going on with this team isn't escaping them either. And they're also hoping that there could be a renaissance by the Canucks and they can get back to being a top 5 team rather than a bottom 5 team. On that note, tomorrow night is Canuck Country Rocks. And so the Canuck alumni, and it's normally in person and live downtown. That's not the situation this year, obviously. So it's going to be online. If you would like to be a part of it, you can get tickets and see all the top country acts and talent and the Canuck alumni. They're going to be a part of that. And you could do that by going online to Vancouver Canuck alumni.
Of the Canuck alum, I guess you call them alumnus or alum. Who's the one Canuck alum that when he walks into the room of Canuck alumni, everybody stops? Like, who's the one guy, the unofficial, quote-unquote, leader of that alumni group?
Oh, that's a good one. So
like, is it Gino? Is it Trevor Linden? Is it Jim Robson? Who would it be?
So the group that gets together and plays, Cliff Roning's out there a lot. Still likes to carry the puck. Jyrki Lumme, I think, is the one guy that brings all the others together. Wayne Van Dorp comes out, and he's always got a one-liner. Babs, of course, Dave Babich, he sits over there in the corner, and every once in a while you hear him chirp just a little bit. So those are the guys that, when I think of the Canuck alumni that are actively playing, and when I get a chance to go out and play, it's those names that come to the forefront. And they're still good guys. I mean, when Thomas Gerdine comes out, I love playing with him because he's still so smart. And so it's a great group. I mean, that 82 run, the 94 guys, they always reminisce, and you hear some of these stories. And again, that's the one thing that all players miss when the game is over. They don't miss getting cross-checked in the face. They miss sitting around and talking with their buds.
How long before we see Daniel and Henrik join that game?
We're trying to get them out, that's for sure. They've got other interests, and they're first and foremost family men. But once we're back skating, we're going to put the hard press on them, and it's fun for myself. I played against Henrik and Daniel Sedin back after they were drafted, before they put on Canuck jerseys. So they were playing for Old Skolvik, and it was this Champions League setup. So our team in Mannheim was the top team that past season, and so we played into this championship league, and they were in our grouping. And so I got a chance to play against them in Old Skolvik, and I remember, testing their mettle, right? I mean, I'm a fan of Vancouver. I'm a Canuck fan. I'm still playing pro hockey, and I'm playing against these two first, or second, and third picks. And so I'm going after them. And they were still slippery. They still had, this was at 18 years old. They still had the little passes and the little curls. And so I'm watching these guys play. I'm like, they're just doing things differently. Like, that twin superpower was evident. It always has been. But I got a chance to see it on the big ice, playing against men before they got a chance to put on their Canuck jerseys. And they've been classy guys all the way through. Got to know them as I was doing color commentary. And I would certainly love for them to come out and play with the alumni. And I'd love to be the third guy in that line.
Oh, dude, there's no way. Okay, so Anson Carter, the 1 year that he played here, I actually went to high school in the same community that Anson did. So he was sitting in his locker stall after one of the Canucks games, and he just looked dog-tired. He looked like beaten up. I said, "You good?" He says, "Man, I hate skating with these guys. They never stop." He says he's never worked harder just trying to keep up with these two and always trying to find him on the ice. So you tell me that you want to play with them, but I heard that it's almost impossible because in addition to that sixth sense that they have, they never stop skating. You don't get to take a shift off. So if you're up for it, you better be up for it, man, because those guys can skate like the wind still.
Well, they can, but the thing about it is they'll go into the offensive zone and do their twists and turns. I just need to be the high guy. I just got to stand there and watch them do their stuff. And then when one of them gets free, maybe bully, kind of like Alex Burrows. Just get to the right spot at the right time.
Best thing he ever did was learn how to put it. I was going to say, best thing he ever did was learn how to put a stick on the ice, man. It made him famous. Yeah. Dave, thank you for this. And again, thank you for letting us know what's coming up with the concert tomorrow. And appreciate you stepping in on a special night where we're on a little later than usual. So stop by again. And Disney Plus, tell me really quickly about the Mighty Ducks. I heard you mention it earlier. Let's give it a real quick plug here again.
Yeah, so if you have a Disney Plus subscription, or you can get one, the Mighty Ducks Game Changer series is on every Friday night. It's always a new episode. And this Friday, myself and my assistant, Brad Turner, hockey coordinator assistant, we make our acting/stunt debuts. So as much as I was, behind the scenes and doing everything to make the hockey look like hockey and everything that came with that, they did maybe feel pity on me and say, sure, we'll put you in front of the camera and see what your acting skills are like. So it's a fun little episode. It's actually an episode where 5 of the original Mighty Ducks come back and are a part of this. And I'm not going to give away which ones they are because I want you to watch. So enjoy it. It should be fun. And see if you can pick me out and freeze frame it, post it, and I'll interact with you on social media.
Do you have a speaking line? I'm just curious.
Couldn't get a line. I mumbled under my breath, but you don't get paid for that.
Yeah, no kidding. That's so good, man. Dave, thank you for doing this, and let's talk again very soon.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks.
All right, there he is. Former NHLer Dave Tomlinson, and I've always wanted to get into the alumni stuff with him, because I guarantee if Daniel and Henrik show up at that game, Babbage about 3 shifts in is just going to be like, screw this. He's just going to go to the bench and let somebody younger keep up with them. But it's really, you talk about all these opportunities that we don't have right now to get together with friends and stuff like that. You forget, these Canuck alumni, I don't think I've said that right the entire segment. These Canuck alumni spend a lot of time together. And it's got to be a little tough to all of a sudden have to be in your separate places, not getting the chance to get together and have that camaraderie. So even though we're kind of all going through that same thing, I look forward to when they finally get back together, be it at Scotiabank Barn or wherever they play their pickup hockey, and maybe take one of those nights in. All right, we'll take our break here. When we come back, let's get back to Canadian Tire Center one last time. We're going to hear from a feisty Travis Green. Apparently he was pretty fired up. We'll get to that, and we'll get to much more. One more segment of The Nation. I'm Rob Fay, and as always, this show is brought to you by Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan.
When you're responsible for every little detail, here's one thing that you don't have to worry about: your Chambers Plan employee benefits. The rates stay manageable and predictable because more than 30,000 Canadian businesses are pooled in the plan. And you never have to compromise on benefits and extra features for you and your staff. Better benefits, stable rates, and a chance to relax, at least for an hour. This is what Canada's #1 employee benefits plan looks like.
A higher degree of safety.
Since 1945, Toyo Tires has been making quality products. It doesn't matter where you go or what you do. There's a Toyo adventure for those who dare to dream.
Looks like those tires are well tested.
Hey, Matt, let's play.
For your drive, dare to dream. Toyo Tires.
Well, final segment of The Nation brought to you by Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan. I am Rob Fay. Thank you for making me a part of your evening tonight. I know it was a lackluster performance on the ice, but my thanks to Dave Tomlinson, who is always great insight. And as mentioned, I love getting the behind-the-scenes stuff as well. All right, let's keep going with that behind-the-scenes stuff. We got a lot of audio to get to from Canadian Tire Centre. But before we do, we have the Toyo Tires fan line open. That is the phone number. And of course, once you get the phone number, you just punch in that real quick code and you're hanging out with me, kind of like Jake in Langley is about to do here. Jake, I haven't heard from Jake in Langley for a little while. It's just the audio call. Jake, how are you tonight? And walk me through your thoughts on Canuck Nation right now.
Yeah, I actually wasn't around, to be completely honest there, Rob. But I'm back now in action, just like the Canucks are back. I'm back now, and thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. So quickly here, I want to talk about Travis Green here specifically because I understand people don't like being questioned, but I feel like Travis Green, like I've never seen someone hate being questioned as much as him. And the reason I bring this up is because every time anybody ever mentions the word Jack Rathbone or Lind, I swear he's going to blow a gasket. And tonight it happened again. He blew a gasket. I'm sure you guys are going to put the clip here, and it's unbelievable with Travis Green. Like I just don't know. Because I truly think that he thinks that if you put these young kids, we're trying to lose. Like that's what I truly believe. But it's the opposite. Because I think Rathbone and Lind would be an upgrade on some of those players on this roster. What do you think about that, Rob?
What if I was to counter that by saying maybe he's so frustrated because he wants to and he's not getting the opportunity to, that's what pisses him off?
But if that's the case, sorry, Rob. But if that's the case, then then what is he doing here, right? Like if he doesn't have that power as the head coach of this Canucks team to go out and make these decisions, and there's someone above him telling him do this, do that, well then get the hell out of here because he's not even going to have a chance to succeed, and it's no point. And the fact that he has no contract extension just proves that point. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but let's remember something. There's only 31 of these jobs on planet Earth that, NHL head coaching jobs. And at the end of the day, who's to say he doesn't peace out at the end of the season? Who's to say that he's not going to be the one that kicks tires on other jobs? We hear through the media that he wants to be in Vancouver and this is the only place that he wants to be. Dude, that's just reporters talking to agents that want to get their side out. But at the end of the day, I'll tell you what, Travis Green now has tenure as an NHL head coach. I think there'd be about 4 or 5 other teams that would at least look at him. And I just sit back and I think the one thing that we don't know is where is the communication between Jim Benning and Travis Green today? We assume that they talk on a daily basis. Like, for example, in baseball, I know that Charlie Montoyo and Ross Atkins talk every day, but who's to say these guys don't talk? I always bring this up, Jake. Do you remember a couple of days ago at the trade deadline when they had made their moves? They had made their 2 moves, and Jim Benning at his press availability said, "Oh, I haven't talked to Travis Green today." How do you not talk to your head coach on trade deadline day when you're making moves and acquiring assets? How do you not talk to your guy? That to me was really telling. So we can sit here and talk Jack Rathbone and we could talk about all the players that, quote, should be here. I want to know the $1 million question is, are they even communicating? And if so, what is that communication like?
But Rob, the communication has always been a problem with this Vancouver Canucks ownership, all the way down to the coaching staff. And like, even if we don't pull a good end of the season here, like I'm not going to be critical after all the things they've done, but that doesn't change the fact that maybe, just maybe, the communication needs to be a little bit better. Actually, scratch that, a lot better, because this is a big organization, a multi-million-dollar organization here. So thanks for taking my call, Rob. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's no problem. And communication is definitely an issue with this team right now. We could sit here and talk analytic till we're blue in the face. If you have an owner that is not talking on a regular basis with, more than just your general manager, if he's that much into the conversation when it comes to what this Canuck team is doing, then he also needs to be talking to the head coach. If you want to be a part of things, then be a part of things. You can't just sit in your lofty perch and point fingers and tell people what to do. And I think right now, Travis Green, if the extension was laid out for him and the terms were good, he would resign. Because as I mentioned, as of next year, there are going to be 32 of these jobs on earth. It's not easy to be a head coach in the NHL. And even though he's got a couple of years underneath his belt, and yeah, there's a couple of teams that might take a look at him, let's remember something here. These jobs are hard to come by, and he's still got a great nucleus. The problem is, if this team doesn't move forward in the next 2 years, now you're going to have Bo Horvat, Brock Besser. You're going to have a bunch of key players saying, are we going to do this again? Because Bo has come forward and said, I'm not going to be a part of another rebuild. He says, I don't want to do that again. So you're going to have these bridge deals where you're going to get 3-year deals for guys like Hughes and Pettersson. You're going to wait for that TV money to open up, because I think it's going to be about 2024 before we finally get to see that number go up significantly. By then, man, you're going to know if this team's in a rebuild or if this team is going for it. And I can tell you this right now, if it's the current executive in place making these decisions, don't get married to any of the core of this team, because it wouldn't surprise me if 1 or 2 of them are gone. I think that's just the truth, man. All right, let's go to our Toyo Tires fan line one more time. A little video here. Let's go to Rosario. Rosario, man, I appreciate you making yourself available to me again. Let's talk about this. Where do you stand with the Vancouver Canucks after tonight's game?
I think the playoffs are done.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, they're done for us. Travis Green, I want to go back to him. He pulled the goalie with 8 minutes left. That reminds me of Patrick Waugh doing that kind of stuff a couple years ago with the Avalanche. He just kind of pissed me off that he did that today.
Well, he's trying to, I think he's trying to show his team that you got to play the full 200-foot game. That's what I got out of it. When I saw the goal, he's obviously not trying to come back and make that a game. He's trying to make a statement to his team. That's what it is. You know what that actually says to me? Is it says to me that Travis isn't going to hang this one on Thatcher, that this was a team game tonight, that's where some of the points were. So, yeah, is it a little optically unpleasing to a diehard fan? Absolutely, because you don't want to see your team get the doors blown off of them. But I kind of got the message, to be honest.
Yeah, this is also what, Demko's second game in the past month, so I don't blame him either.
Yeah. Moving forward, I would assume you're on, I don't want to call it Team Tank, but would you be on Team Youth at this point? Let's see some of the young guys.
I want to see more of the young guys. Give DiPietro a chance, call him back up. Give Colin a chance.
I want to see the sweater before you go. I want to see a little more of the sweater. I can't believe you're wearing
my sweater?
Yeah, buddy. That's how I know you're a diehard right there. When you're rocking a Christmas morning shirt as we get ready for summer, you're a man's man. I appreciate you doing that.
It's a perfect weather outside for it.
Yeah, I think it is. Rosario, thank you for your call this afternoon. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Take care.
Okay, so let's get to the audio now. I thank you for all the people that have joined us on our Toyo Tires fan line. You know what? We'll get through the audio. If you want to hold the line, we'll get back to you one last time. But let's get to what is going on. We got a couple of players that we're going to get to. I think we got about 4 of them here. Let's start. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little Tyler Myers, some Alex Edler, Thatcher, and Travis. We'll save the best for last, as Vanessa Williams used to do in the 90s. Let us start with one of the defensemen who had a goal tonight, Tyler Myers.
Hey, Tyler, just how disappointed are you in the performance from the group today?
Yeah, it wasn't a very good one from our group. I thought, I thought anytime we were generating momentum, we just kind of shot ourselves in the foot. A few too many turnovers, not making the right decisions at the lines, and it ended up costing us.
And don't want to use it as an excuse, but is this the fatigue from everything that's happened in the last month or so? Coming home to roost here a bit.
It's tough to say. I don't think that's the reason. We're making some of the mistakes we're making, and I don't think we can use that as an excuse. I think the answer is no. I don't think that's the reason we played the way we did tonight. It's just making some better decisions with the puck. It's a fine line between winning and losing, and we had a few too many on the wrong side tonight, and they ended up bearing a lot of them.
Next up is Farhan Lalji.
Tyler, you mentioned the decisions with the puck, and there was something this team dealt with very early in the season, and you went through a stretch where the decision making was a lot better. Given what's at stake and how fine the margins are as far as playoffs and points needed, are you surprised it's kind of cropping up again now?
I don't know if surprise is the right word. I think if you have to stay focused and prepared, each and every day throughout a hockey season. And, if you come in one night and not as focused as you should be, not as prepared, you end up making, some plays that, we shouldn't be making. So, you have to go game by game. Tonight wasn't a good one. And, we have another one tomorrow night. We got to come out and respond. I think a lot of the game is breakouts and forechecks. I think, when our team is going, we're doing those two things very well, and we have to get back to that.
When you guys,
all right, dude, the questions, you can't keep asking the same questions. These guys are all my buddies, so I'm not going to bury them for that. But we've heard from multiple players that COVID isn't a part of the conversation anymore. They said maybe for the first game or two, it was a little bit of an issue. They were trying to get their, quote, legs. We're good. Let's start asking them about the real questions here. Like, where are they at mentally? Where did the structure break down tonight? How do they get better? Those are the things that I think we need to hear from this team. Because if I'm an invested, engaged fan, I don't want to turn on the TV for the next 13 games and just its proverbial grab bag, we're playing out the string. Let me know what I'm going to be watching here for the next couple of weeks. I think that's a fair ask. All right, Alex Edler was also a part of the post-game conversation tonight. Let's get you to the long-time defenseman of the Vancouver Canucks.
Hey, Alex, just start with your assessment of the performance from your group today.
I think obviously it wasn't good enough tonight. We didn't come up to our standard, and I think we all agree on that. So it's it just wasn't our best effort, and we got to come back tomorrow and with a better one.
I know you guys don't want to use it as an excuse, but is this everything that's happened over the last month kind of coming home to roost a bit here?
It's hard to say, but like as a player, you never use that. Like you say, you never use it as an excuse. When you dress for a game, there's no excuses. Sometimes you feel great, sometimes you might not feel that great, but then you got to find a way to get your legs, maybe play simple, smarter. So every player, every team goes through games or stretches when they might not feel great, but good teams, they find a way.
Next up, we'll go to Jay Janauer.
Alex, last week there was a real belief on this hockey team with the wins that you had. With the losses that you've just suffered, I'm wondering how much that belief has taken a hit, and how much do you feel for Thatcher? Because I think the one constant tonight was his effort when everyone else in front of it wasn't there. Can you tell me about what the room's like right now?
I think we always believe in ourselves, in our group, but in our situation, we're just taking one game at a time, and it's another game tomorrow, and that's all we're focused on.
That last one's a question. All right. Guys are looking at me like, man, you're getting ready to fire on somebody. I'm not, I promise you. Here's my problem, if I could be that guy. I know our viewership's a little light right now, but you guys are going to make this up. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. It's going to be all good. But, dude, go to the scrum prepared. Like, go in there with something that is off the beaten path. Not just the, hey, man, what'd you think of tonight's game? That's what I ask somebody like Jeff Patterson. You have an NHL player that was just on the ice. He's got unbelievable insight. He was right there. He played in the game. Don't give them an opportunity to give you the total team effort, one game at a time speech. Ask them something prickly. Like, this is what made Botch so good. Come on, man. Like, I wish I could do these. I wish I could get into these Zoom calls because I'm not trying to make a name for myself, but at the same time, don't just constantly loft them these 6-foot balls that you can just watch fall from the sky, get in there. And I'm not even saying you have to challenge them, but that's a great question from Jay. Jay's like, take me into the room. What are you guys feeling? What's physically going through your mind right now? That's a question. Let's see if we can get something better. Here's the goaltender of the Vancouver Canucks tonight, Thatcher Demko.
Thatcher, what disappoints you the most about what happened tonight?
The loss. I think it's definitely the most disappointing for sure. We need to win right now, and we know that, and it just didn't go our way.
we know what you guys have gone through, and we saw the effort that you had last week, the big wins against the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's hard to be critical of you guys, Thatcher, because of everything that you've gone through. But is the criticism fair after what we saw?
I guess. I mean, there's no excuses from us. We're playing with the cards we were dealt, and every guy in there wants to put their best foot forward and give a good effort to win games. And obviously when it doesn't go our way, it's tough for everyone. And I guess it's your job to criticize us too. So can't really hold that against you.
Next up is Brendan Batchelor.
Hey, Thatcher, can you just talk us through your last couple of days where obviously you have a little bit of a tweak or something a couple of days ago and have to miss the game? And was there a point where you were worried that it might be longer term than it turned out to be?
We just discussions with our medical staff and, getting on the same page with them and confirming that, it's good to go. And was able to skate yesterday and, skate again this morning. So, it's good to be available and get in the game tonight.
That's better. That gets one of these. All right, our last one. We've done it. We've gotten to the end of the road here. Like Boys to Men used to croon on the mean streets of Philly. Let's get you, and I haven't actually seen this one, but I'm dying to hear the pepper, the spice in the head coach of the Canucks, Travis Green.
Travis, just your thoughts on where things went wrong for your group today.
That's a bit of a list. We didn't play good enough to win, that's for sure. We weren't very good tonight. Got what we deserved.
I know you guys don't want to use it as an excuse, but are you starting to see everything that the players have been through in the last month coming home to roost a little bit here?
I thought we looked a little tired tonight, to be honest, physically. I thought we looked mentally tired too. But there's no rule in the league that you can't win when you're tired. And I actually thought we showed a little bit of mental weakness in the beginning of the second period with some of the plays we made. We first three goals we just kind of handed them to them with bad passes, bad turnovers, bad coverage, and all of a sudden 6 minutes into the period, we've given up 3. But you can, we might have been tired, but you can still win when you're tired.
Okay, next up here, we'll go to Farhan Lalji.
Fatigue showed at times tonight, Travis, but just going forward, now you get into the first set of the back-to-backs and the real meat of the challenging part of the schedule is in front of you. How do you manage that?
Just manage it, Farhan. I don't know what you mean, like how you manage it. What are we going to do? We're going to play the games. We're going to get ready to play. We're going to get our guys they've played a lot of back-to-back games in their life, in their career.
How about your lineup? Do you have any other options that you can use because of the back-to-back and try to get some guys in and some fresh?
We know all the players that are here. We've got the players that we have are the options that we have.
Okay, next up here, we'll go to Jay Janauer.
Travis, good evening. It seems almost unfair to be overly critical of your hockey team because of what you've gone through in the last month. I understand that. I also agree with you on the mental fatigue thing. I know you called a timeout. I know you read them the riot act. I know you're coaching, but also how much do you have to take in the reality of what's gone through the last month and how you handle this hockey team the next week or two?
Well, I think I just kind of said it, we might get tired with all these games, but you can win when you're tired. You've got to be smart. You got to do the right things. You got to make the right plays. You can pass a puck on the tape when you're tired. You can make a good decision and get a puck behind them and not turn it over and not make hope plays when you're tired. But that's being mentally strong as well. And that's understanding that, hey, maybe I've got to play a little simpler game. Maybe I got to play direct. Maybe I got to put a puck behind here that I don't quite have my jump. And we kind of gave into it a little bit. And sometimes we do that when we get down as a team because I know our guys want to win so bad. I've seen it before when we get down a little bit earlier in the second period, we start to really chase the game and push try to make plays out of nothing. And that usually doesn't end up well in our favor. And it didn't tonight.
Surprise you?
Okay, I'm going to ask the guys in the back to do one thing for me, and I'm so sorry, Jordan. Just tell me when we've got it. Can you please go back to when Travis starts to roll his eyes as Farhan is asking the question? It's my favorite part of the entire show. Dude, you know that it's 5 minutes. You're going to have to face the music. Some of the media are going to ask you stupid questions, and you just got to give them, look at this. He just, at this point, is so checked out. Oh, just my absolute favorite. Like, what's up there? What is he looking at right now? God, he just does not want to be there. I'm so there for that. You know what I will say? You need a JPAT question in there. That's where Jeff Patterson is. He's so good. It's like a master class because Jeff doesn't care. He's going to ask you the tough question. Just deal with it. But that was awesome. He's just like, man, this is the worst. 6-3, now we're on our way to the guillotine in Toronto. Ah, yeah, here comes another question. Oh, glorious. I'm there for all of that. Good stuff. I know, I'm just picking on people at this point. We should probably wrap this show up. I know this is the longest show we've done. Let's get you to the trivia question. Let's wrap things up. Let's wrap this bad boy up. I know what you're thinking. Boy, where'd this energy come from? Why didn't the Canucks have some of that tonight? Our question for you tonight brought to you by Logo Pro Sports, where you can get all your apparel done, be it a small job, a large job. Kurt and his staff will get it done for you. Who are the 4 alternate captains of the Vancouver Canucks in 2011? The answer, drum roll please. It's just me by myself in the studio. I got no drum. Kevin Bieksa, Ryan Kessler, Daniel Sedin, and Manny Malhotra. Do we have a winner tonight? That's a tough question. Well, it's not when you got Google in 50 some odd minutes, but our winner tonight, who will be receiving said prize pack, Simon Hardman. I know Simon watches this show every night. I'm happy to see his name up there. Congratulations, Simon. You are a recipient of some t-shirt from the nation, a t-shirt from the nation, and maybe a mask. We'll see if we still got some in inventory stock because it is a hot commodity right now. Kurt and our good friends at Logo Pro Sports, we're going to send you something out, and Simon, I hope you enjoy it. I don't know. What was I doing there? Okay, let's wrap up the show, shall we? My thanks to everybody with Hubcast. Thank you so much for making me a part of your evening. We will be back tomorrow. We'll be here right after the game. So if you liked it tonight, we got more for you tomorrow. We'll have some new guests, we'll have some fresh insight, and hopefully we'll be talking about a Vancouver Canuck victory, which I know pessimistic fans may say, well, how are they going to do that after what we saw tonight? But you never know. It's a new day. They don't have far to travel going from Ottawa to Toronto. Maybe, just maybe, they can capture lightning in a bottle again, but I don't know. Toronto's going to remember those 2 losses here in Vancouver just over a week ago, and I don't know, may the best team win. Until you and I do this again, my thanks to Chamber of Commerce, my thanks to Toyo Tires, my thanks to Savvy Singh, all of our partners, and for you for making me a part of your evening. I'll see you in less than 24 hours. To everybody in the back, thanks for your help tonight. I'm Rob Fay. This has been The Nation, brought to you by Chamber of Commerce Group Insurance Plan. See you tomorrow, everybody.